The Guns on Pegs podcast is brought to you by ITAP Group. Hello and welcome to the Guns on Pegs podcast with me, George Brown.
And me, Chris Horn. How are you, George?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Sad to say, but we're sort of in the last 2 weeks of the season.
It honestly feels like winter's just started. Literally just recently. It's been so mild this winter and there's still sloes on the trees and everything. And we're in the last week of the season.
It's crazy, isn't it? My dad and I actually went and picked some sloes at the weekend. And I think if it hadn't been for that really heavy rain and wind that we had at the back end of last week, there'd have been even more to pick. Kind of crazy. But yeah, so you got any beaters days or anything like that lined up?
I've had it's been a bit quiet for a couple of reasons, but I'm really excited by our team day. It's almost a pod day, actually, isn't it?
It is. Well, pod team,
yeah. Plus the GOP team and a couple of clients.
Yeah,
heading over to some tool birds, as they call them, in Wales.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. I'm excited for that. And yeah, we've got our beaters day this coming weekend, which is going to be nice.
Are you beating?
I am beating. I think I might also be standing with a novice for a bit, which I always enjoy. That's always really good fun. When you get to say, go on, that one's yours. Have it. That's my favourite bit.
And is it an all end in the pub job? Or is it around the campfire type thing?
Yeah, we'll be in the pub.
I love the atmosphere of those days.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So yeah, but by the next time we record, that'll be it for the season. Man. So perhaps the next episode that you and I record together would better be a season in review type thing.
Yeah, sure. And do you know what? Actually, I've just realised a sort of bit of a link to today's guest that can sort of make the theme today work even better because it's the end of the season. All will be made clear.
Well, you better introduce our guest now that you said that.
So our guest today is a game shot, which isn't giving anything away. But he is also founder of Aardvark McLeod, a mainly fly fishing travel company, taking guests all over the world to lovely destinations. He's host of the company's successful YouTube channel. He's an author of a book on fly fishing for giant trevally, as well as a contributor to several fly fishing books. And of course, obviously a keen game shot, or he wouldn't be here. So please put the rods down. Welcome to the podcast, Pete McLeod.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Pete. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you for having me on.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. We've been talking about it for a while. Now, Pete, very quickly, Chris said mainly fly fishing. I think that you guys at Aardvark McLeod do organise a bit of shooting for some clients as well, don't you?
We do. We do a little bit of shooting for those who ask. We do a bit of domestic shooting, and we do some international stuff as well because it ties in very well with the same fishing operators that we're using around the world.
There are a lot of fishing lodges that also have a bit of shooting alongside. Is that how it works?
Yeah, but also some, for example, in Argentina, the main fishing operators, they also own the shooting operations. So it's all the same. It's all the same companies that we're working with, the same logistics, the same teams on the ground. It's just a different thing to sell.
Do you get many clients, trips doing both?
I mean, it's not a huge number, but those people who are making a trip are quite a long way, and they do shoot as well as fish, which kind of go hand in hand, then they do want to try the shooting in the area. I mean, if it's Argentina, then the doves are obviously immediately appealing, and you can nip up from Buenos Aires to Cordoba and go and have a bit of a cast and blast, which is always good fun.
That's a hell of a trip, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you're going that far, it makes absolute sense. Actually, it's come up so much, even with people I know that don't really fish. When they talk about Argentina, it's kind of like, well, why are we there? What else are we going to do?
Well, and obviously, drink Malbec, eat steak, catch fish, and shoot things.
Sounds tough, that.
Yeah, it's terrible.
One of my sister-in-law's favourite sort of dinner party questions is, if you could live in any country in the world, which country would it be? And I've always said, well, you know, they kind of got to have shooting and cricket and fishing. But when you say, you know, drink Malbec, eat steak, go fishing, shoot doves. I feel like Argentina could work.
Yeah, you'd have to just swap the cricket for the rugby because they're pretty decent at that now. So,
or polo, but actually, they've got quite good cricket out there as well.
Really?
Well, in the country clubs, in the polo clubs, they've all got a cricket ground.
I didn't know that.
Honestly, that question though, I couldn't look beyond the UK. I know it's so boring, and everyone will go, "Oh," but I just think we've got everything going for us here when you talk about this sort of stuff.
It's Canada.
Canada's good. New Zealand's good.
Norway's not bad.
Yeah, ice cricket.
Yeah, maybe not the cricket, George.
I think the price of the Malbec in Norway undoes it slightly.
Yeah, the price of everything in Norway slightly undoes it.
Well, I mean, we've talked about Malbec. Perhaps we should do what's that you're drinking. Pete, would you like to kick us off? What's in your glass?
Right. Well, I had to think quite hard about this, because there's so many different lovely things. But actually, I've gone with this year's batch of slow vodka.
Very nice. Slows from
Bradley Wood up here in Hampshire, and I brought along a nasty lager as a chaser in case.
Excellent.
Although this is quite a big one.
Is it good? The slow vodka?
That's a difficult question to answer, isn't it? It's let's just say it's okay, but it's not quite as good as I would have liked it to have been. But it will suffice. It will suffice.
On the basis that you'll hear what I've got in a second, you didn't mess up as much as I did. But go on, where did it go wrong?
I think I used the wrong sugar. The last batch I made, I used granulated, and this time I used the more refined sugar, thinking that it would get into the vodka better. And actually, it just didn't work as well.
Interesting. That's very interesting. So is it too sweet, or it's just not sweet enough? Or
it's just got a slightly different taste. It's not quite as syrupy as the last one I made, which was really good. But sadly, my son drank the rest of the bottle.
My dad and I were bottling the sloe gin that I made back in September at the weekend. And one thing I've noticed is that although the sloes have been in the gin for longer than they normally would be, it hasn't got the colour that it would normally have got.
Well, because of the sort of climate this year?
I think it must be. This is my best guess anyway.
My little wine knowledge, I love a bit of wine, but I claim to have a tiny bit of knowledge, so I'm probably going to say something that's wrong here. But obviously when they have a really good year, they control yields on the vines, so you have to cut back the vines. But obviously one of the big reasons for that is to stop the fruit sort of overproducing and end up doing probably what maybe has occurred with the sloes. When you've got too many, it's not as concentrated.
I think that makes perfect sense, because this is definitely paler than the last batch I made.
So one of the reasons that Dad and I went to pick some sloes is because we're doing an experiment. Because the theory is that the sloes that have been on the bush a bit longer may produce something a bit darker. So we're doing a proper experiment.
Interesting. Do you remember when we had Rich Prideaux on the pod? He was talking about second or late harvest having a totally different taste of, was that blackberries or was it something else?
Yeah, it was blackberries. But
the principle was interesting when you apply it to this.
Yeah, exactly. So go on then, Chris. You've already sort of slightly teed it up. What have you got?
So you've had some. For those on the Most Noble Order of the Garters WhatsApp group, you would have over Christmas seen me hissy fitting about a bad batch of sloe gin I made in 2019. Now, Pete, I reckon, I didn't know what made it so bad, but I reckon I did the same thing as you. I reckon I used the wrong sugar. And because it's just rung a bell when you said that. Anyway, I forgot about this demijohn of sloe gin that I had. And I found, a whole demijohn. And I forgot it. I forgot about it. I found it the other day. Anyway, I tried it and it was like firewater. And it just really had not gone through properly. The sloes were frozen and all that sort of stuff before. So I did what I like doing, which is having a try at stuff. And I mixed half the bottle of sloe gin with a bottle. So in a 175, 750 ml bottle of sloe gin, one 750ml of Dubonnet, and I mixed them into a Magnum, mixed it all together, and everyone was like, "Oh God, classic!" Because I've raved on the pod about gin and Dubonnet before. I think it's just a really underrated drink, and this one is genuinely brilliant.
Really?
Are you sure? Because I've
really
tried
like
it.
that. I got rave. So when we were shooting together the other day, I took it round and I got lots of, "Ooh, quite like that." And I was really quite pleased with the result, considering it was a big old gamble.
Yeah, you've taken a risk, and it's not a complete disaster.
It's salvaged. You can't waste anything.
Exactly. You don't drink gin and Dubonnet that often, and slow gin and Dubonnet, I don't think there's been many of those knocking around in this country. So I'm really glad that I might have made a first, and I can tell you it's actually quite good.
Well, that means you have to name it.
True.
Oh, I can't put me on the spot like that.
Well, okay, suggestions on a postcard, pod@gunsonpegs.com, if you can think of a name for Chris's slow gin and Dubonnet concoction.
Is it like a... Is it slow, so it's like a slob.
Slob drink. Here, have some slob. Sounds really, it's got a particular, vibe to it there, Chris. I think you nailed it, mate.
Well, it rolls off the tongue.
You were supposed to be
appetizing.
a marketing and branding guru.
Have some slob.
Oh, that reminds me. Avian's been making his cider, which I reckon will probably be about ready before too long. We asked for some name suggestions and also branding sort of logo suggestions and stuff, and we've had a few in. And I need to have a word with whoever's running the GOP Insta before too long, so we can share some of the labels that people sent in. They're really good.
You could run a poll.
Oh yeah,
I love this. I love that sort of thing.
You could run a poll, and then Avian won't have a choice.
I think audience naming has just been one of the strongest things of the last sort of 10 years, ever since Boaty McBoatface got on the scene. I think
Boaty McBoatface. Have we discovered what dead creature that Avian has put into this yet?
He's being very circumspect about it. No, I think he actually acquired yeast. He had he's made one batch with the apple's natural yeast, and then he's also been given some proper cider yeast from a proper cider maker. So I think it probably isn't sort of the full sort of West Country rat experience.
I think that's vaguely disappointing, actually.
Yes, but might make it more palatable. We shall see. I'm looking forward to giving that a try.
I can't wait to hear the names for this. That's going to be good. Slow gin and Dubonnet, pod@gunsonpegs.com, please. I'm convinced it's never been named. Actually, I'm just going to do a quick Google and see if anyone's ever spoken about it.
They can't have done.
Maybe it should just be called The Horn.
Would you like a glass of the Horn?
Absolutely nothing on the first page of Google. So, yeah, we could be there.
Crikey.
Winner, Chris.
How would you feel if that was your lasting legacy in the world?
After everything I've tried
in 100
so hard
years'
to do.
time, the only thing people remember you for is the fact that you created whatever it turns out to be.
The Horn.
If the slow gin and Dubonnet is more successful than Guns on Pegs, I'll be very disappointed.
I feel we're getting slightly sidetracked here.
But honestly, based on the taste, it has the potential to be. I'll leave it at that.
It's nice and dark, though.
Honestly, every sip's getting better and better.
That's how booze works.
Right, moving on.
Well, shall I tell you what I'm drinking then?
Oh, sorry, George. We've been on it for ages. What are you drinking?
Well, you mentioned Rich Prideaux. And when he came down to shoot with me earlier in the season, he brought with him a bottle of a drink that he talked about when he came on the podcast, which is his beech leaf liqueur.
Ooh.
So it's made in the same way as slow gin. So, sugar and leaves and what have you. And then it has a little bit of brandy just before bottling to finish it off. And I've not tried it yet. I mean, it smells more like brandy than anything else. it's sort of the colour of wee.
I was about to say, it looks a bit like a specimen.
But
you know wee after a big night out.
It's actually really good. There's a sort of whiskiness to it, which I really like. Well, it's going to be somewhere in the slow gin sort of region, I'd have thought.
Is it, though?
Yeah.
Because it looks quite light, in which case you always think it might be stronger. I mean, a beech leaf hasn't got a lot to give off like a slow.
Not a lot of colour, no. It's got a sweetness to it, but I can't really describe the flavour, actually. But it's absolutely delicious. I really like that. So come the spring, when the beech trees are all just coming into leaf, I'm going to make a ton of that. It's really good.
Might give that a crack too. I've got a beech tree literally out the back of the house. In fact, I think I've still got half a ton of leaves left there from last year that I haven't actually got around to doing anything with yet.
So he was saying, and I have to go back and re-listen to it, but he said, the really young, the first leaves of the year on the beech tree, when they're almost translucent and sort of very pale green, are the ones to get. I think he said that as the season goes on, they get a lot more tannin in them and what have you. But yeah, really nice.
I mean, if you can use beech leaves to make a liqueur, it seems to me like if that's game, there's a lot of other things that are game that aren't spoken about.
I mean, as long as it's not going to actually poison you, you can experiment with whatever, can't you?
I mean, what's acorn liqueur like?
Not sure about that, because there are a lot of tannins in acorns, aren't there?
I don't eat them regularly. I'm not sure.
I remember roasting them over a fire as a kid and thinking, yeah, this will be great, and then figuring out they're really not. I think I was quite ill after that, actually.
Yes, so just a quick public service announcement. Don't make a drink from anything if you're not 100% sure it won't kill you.
Right, moving on.
Yes, we're going to do Whose Bird Is It Anyway, Pete? This is the section of the podcast where we ask our listeners to write in with their shooting quandaries and queries and all that sort of stuff. And Chris is going to do the honours with this one.
So this episode's Whose Bird Is It Anyway comes from someone that we shall call Artemis, who writes, George, have we not had an Artemis before?
I don't think we have. I did ask myself that question, but I don't think we have.
Sorry if Artemis with a pair of garters out there is being joined by another one. I'm hoping you knowledgeable gents can help me with a quandary that has been much discussed around our kitchen table of late. Your recent Kids in the Field episode inspired me to seek your advice. I grew up with shooting very much as part of the fabric of my family life. My father was out picking up and occasionally shooting several times a week. We always had working dogs under the table, and the countryside was something to be worked with and respected. Despite that upbringing, I didn't properly take up shooting myself until I went on to study at the best agricultural university there is. I began, as many do, on the clays, before life rather abruptly intervened and I pressed pause on my shooting to raise a family. Fast forward a few years and my children are now 7 and 8. I'm back shooting weekly, whether clays or game, and both children are utterly besotted. They spend their days beating or loading, in inverted commas, for me, with an enthusiasm that makes even the longest drives worthwhile. About a year ago, I bought them an air rifle, and my 7-year-old in particular has proven to be a remarkably steady and accurate shot, doing a very effective job of helping us keep squirrel numbers in check within our woods. Inevitably, however, the air rifle is no longer quite scratching the itch. Both children are desperate to progress to a shotgun for clays and young shot stays. My hope would be for them to take their first game shots at the end of next season on our syndicate, when they'll be 8 and 9 respectively. By that point, they will have put in 3 full seasons of beating, and I feel that they would have earned the privilege as well as gained a proper understanding of fieldcraft, safety, and respect for the day. There is the added aspect that my father will be moving locally to me soon, giving us the opportunity to shoot together with the children for the first time, which excited me greatly. This brings me to my quandary. Do I start them on a 410 or a 28 bore? Everyone I speak to gives me different advice, so please, gents, settle the debate for me. I'm keen to avoid anything that might put them off, but equally I want them to gain a feel for the sport as I know it, and to have fun sharing days in the field together. I'm interested to hear your thoughts and experiences on which route best sets young shots up for the enjoyment, confidence and longevity in the sport, and hopefully to prevent me from making an expensive mistake. Yeah, that last bit's the important part there as well.
Yeah.
This is a quandary that so many people have, including myself. Actually, I've just gone through this one over the last year and a half.
Yeah, well, I was going to say you're a bit ahead of Chris and I. Our kids are younger than Artemis's, so we haven't got to this point yet. Although, having spoken about it a lot, I did get Otis one of those little plastic, proper kind of plastic shotgun.
I always wanted one of those as a kid, and I never got one.
Well, I did have one as a kid, and I've sort of been holding. I wanted to buy one when he was 4. But now that they're 6, I've bought one, and it is great. And it's got the little plastic cartridges and the little yellow banger caps that go in it. It's fabulous.
So much fun. I remember my Davy Crockett shotgun from way back when with a proper underlever.
Wow.
Did you have the hat as well, Chris?
Oh, the full outfit. Of course.
Oh, cool.
I genuinely thought I was Davy Crockett at one point.
But yeah, Pete, what's your experience been?
So it's always a dilemma, and it's a dilemma. Firstly, I think the most important thing is the size of the children. I can speak from also a certain amount of experience myself, because I was tiny until I was about 16, and then I grew a bit. So I was taken along to the shooting school for at least 2 years, looked at by the shooting instructor and said, no, too young, and had to go away again and continue with the air rifle.
Oh gosh, that must have been so painful.
Oh, I mean, I had to go back and continue to learn the poem in the back of the Ely Shooter's Diary about safety. So my father was quite old school. But do you buy a 410 or do you buy a 28 bore? And the thing is, they're both quite expensive guns. I mean, they're much more expensive than buying a 12 bore, for example.
Yeah.
And I think that they grow out of a 410 incredibly quickly.
And they will never have that much fun with it because it's so hard.
It's hard. Shooting with a 410 is really difficult, much harder than a 28. I mean, you literally scale yourself up almost double on a pattern. But at the same time, most 28 bores are too physically big for children of 8 to 9 years old.
Finish the point, and then please let's come back to that 8-9 bit.
So what I did was I bought one of those brilliant old rat guns, the folding poachers 410s.
Yeah.
Which a friend of mine had. It's an old Cogswell and Harrison with a hammer and an underlever. And I started them both with that, which was small enough that it wasn't physically difficult, and they cost nothing. I mean, you can pick them up from Holt's for 30 quid, 40 quid.
That's the same as I paid for the plastic one.
Exactly. And it's a 3-inch 410 as well. So you can put decently long cartridges down it. But, when you first start them off, you can start them on the small 2-inch, 2.5-inch cartridges. So it doesn't kick. Because the first thing that most small children are terrified from moving from an air rifle to a shotgun is it going to kick? And if you get it wrong, they develop a flinch.
Yes.
And that's really hard to get rid of later on in their shooting career.
And that, that also means that, the stock being the right length is super important. Because, having a stock that's too long or too short is the quickest way to get a good thump, isn't it?
But it smacks them in the face and they don't mount it properly. So that would be my recommendation, because yes, you want to move them to a shotgun, but don't go and buy something like an AYA 410, which is what I learned to shoot with and loved for a long time. But, to buy one of those now, you're looking at 400 or 500 quid, and they'll grow out of it in 2 to 3 years. And unless, of course, you want to put a 3.5, 4-inch extension on it and use it yourself for a bit of fun. So I held off and then bought a 28 bore.
Chris, what did you start on? We covered this before.
No, do you know what? I don't think we have. And I think this is really interesting because when I read this, it reminded me of my first ever shot with I don't know if I've mentioned this on the pod before. My first ever shot with a shotgun was after a syndicate day.
Oh, you have mentioned this before, yeah.
Aged 8. And he was like, come on then, let's have a shot. Just aim at that oak tree. And he gave me his Gunmark 12 bore with a game load in it.
Ooh.
And I think it put me off shooting for about 5 years. The gun obviously went out, came back in and whacked me like I've never been whacked before. When I read this, 8 or 9 to me, I don't know about you guys, this is going to be my first question to you. It just seems really young. And I'm all for shooting, but I'm just thinking like game and that sort of stuff requires some punch. I like clay's fine, like get something like you're just talking about, shoot some clays with it. But I think with game, you need a bit of pattern, you need a bit of punch. Starting them too young there's a fine balance to be made there.
Well, I think I was probably 11 when I first shot at game.
Yeah, I was 13.
And I'd probably have had some clay I definitely did have some lessons on the clays before that. Definitely, I think I would want a season of clays under their belt at the least.
Just so that you get over the worry of actually functioning the gun. Because when you first start young people off, it's like driving a car. When you first drive a car, you're worried about clutches and control and, moving the gears, and it's all about the function of the car. So you're not really looking around to see what's happening. Whereas with guns, I think it's very similar. They need to be really au fait with the use of a shotgun.
I think you're right. That being like the breaking of the gun after pulling the trigger, becoming second nature, a movement that you don't have to think about. Even reloading becoming a second nature. All of those things. So you're not thinking safety catch, barrels, all that stuff, so that when you're out in the field for the first time, everything just feels normal.
Because it's nerve-wracking too. You're on a shoot and there's your father's peers are all around you. And I remember, I think the first time I shot pheasants I was probably 9. And it was our local shoot, which I'd beat it at since I was probably about 4. And I think the first one I hit, I probably blew both its legs off. But luckily we had an extremely vivacious Labrador retriever that then ran across the field and pulled it out of the air, which saved the day. But, and I felt a little bit bad about that. I certainly massacred enough rabbits and pigeons with an air rifle to not really worry about it. But I think I felt the possibility of wounding something and not getting it back.
And to be honest, this is where sim days are absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Because you can take a young person on a sim day. Like, you become so confident, you learn etiquette, you learn like loading quickly and not fumbling and not, you learn all the other bits that you wouldn't get on a playground. And then you still have the fun. And then when it actually comes to it, all of that stuff is gone. But more importantly, maybe it's not swinging a few times. I just think that there's something in the idea that, like, if you're going to have a 28 bore, you need a fair load in that thing to bring a pheasant down. And at 9, you're going to be on the edge of like putting them off it slightly if they get it very slightly wrong.
Unless your 9-year-old is massive, and I've certainly met a few who could be 14.
So what was your first gun, Pete, did you say?
My first gun was an AYA box lock number 410.
Okay.
Non-ejector, which my father made me carry for a year the season beforehand with nothing in it.
Lovely. When did you move off that? What age were you?
I moved to a 28 bore when I was probably, I would say, 12 or 13.
And so did you go all the way through? Did you go 410, 28,
410,
20,
28.
12?
No, I never went to 20. I went straight from a 28 bore to a 12.
Yeah.
And that season was my best season ever. I don't think I missed anything.
George, what did you do?
I did 410, 20, 12. But I would say I was probably so my younger brother, Jim, he's 19 months younger than me and has always been a little bit taller than me. So he very quickly needed the 20 bore. So I progressed from 20 to 12 very quickly as well. So I was 410 probably for 2 or 3 years, and we were sharing. And then I went 20, and then probably the next year I was using a 12 bore.
Interesting. So when I was 13, when I started, I went straight to 20 bore, and that worked really well. Non-ejector. We've still got it, actually. Rubbish bit of kit, but
I think there's a lot to be said for having people start off with a non-ejector.
Yeah,
I think that's important because it teaches them a slower load, more methodical.
Yeah, and don't, because the temptation is to rush. Yeah,
I remember listening to when you had Simon Reinhold on the podcast, and he said that his father only gave him 1 cartridge.
Yeah,
I thought it was rather good. It does focus the mind.
I think at a young age there's a lot for that. Definitely, like pulling off both barrels unnecessarily. There's a lot for that. Yes, I went from a 20 age 13, went 12 bore age 16. And AYA number 4 box lock, kicked like a horse.
It was probably too short for you then.
No, it was actually quite well fitted. I remember when we took it to Peter Chapman up on the Essex-Suffolk border, and I remember he was doing some repairs on it and went to pick it up, and he was like, my God, this thing kicks. And I was thinking, God, if you're saying that, then it must do. That actually was, that was the wrong choice of gun, that particular gun, because I remember being on a drive and I mismounted a couple of times, aged about 16. It didn't take a lot with a game load 12 bore to just really see the non-funny side of that quite quickly.
Did you mount it straight into the middle of your bicep?
Yes. And then by the end of the drive, you're holding the gun with your left hand, your right hand's like hanging down.
It's like when one of your mates at school's giving you a massive dead arm.
Oh, horrible. I think, Chris, there's a lot to be said there. I think your sim day thing is a really good shout.
So do I.
Spend, the whole summer at the playground, and, before doing a proper game day, get on a sim day. And the way most sim days work is you share a peg with somebody. So if mum and the 2 boys go along together, the 2 boys can take it in turns. Mum can shoot a whole peg, so to speak. And then, by the time, they put 5,000 clays over the line, both lads will have probably let off more cartridges than I have done all season. And we'll have really grooved some of those things.
Yeah, I agree. And advice. Also, one of the things that she was talking about was getting the generations together in the line. That, if I wouldn't rush that. I mean, I do remember, like, for me, the 3 generations in a line, my dad, my grandfather, and myself, was just some of the happiest memories of my life. And it didn't last for long until my grandfather was too old. I'd only become old enough to do it for a period. But this is the way to make that happen sooner rather than later. And then you don't need to worry about it too much. And obviously the expense of putting 3 of you in a line on a game day, and all the rest of it. So I think that's the way to go. And the only final point I want to make, and I don't know the answer to this, but obviously with the steel situation or the non-lead situation, bio-ammo might be the solution for this. But I've not seen many 410 or 28 bore. We're going to have a bit of a problem with supply of shells for those guns. And so if you can go straight to a 20 at the right time, you can have more choice and probably cost be more on your side. So
there's a lot of truth in that, although hopefully the cartridge companies will, as we get closer to the deadline, they'll probably ramp, especially with, it's already happening in the US because they shoot a lot of small bores for the upland shooting anyway. So I think we'll see more variety and more choice in the small bores.
Yeah, whether they do a bio wad for a 410, that would be interesting. Because the problem with 410s is getting fiber wadded cartridges. They usually just pattern really badly, and the plastic wads are much better on a 410, but you can't be using that on a game day. So I don't know. There's an issue there. I personally would be skipping my end advice, just for me personally. I'd try and skip the 410 stage.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
I think the main thing there is that when you're shooting game, you do want to actually shoot it. That's the thing, isn't it? And shooting with a 410 is so hard.
I mean, even a 28 ball is hard enough. I took a lovely William Evans 28 ball on a game day once, and I remember the first time I shot. It was the first time I shot game with the 28. I just couldn't believe the delay in this shot hitting the bird and the amount of lead you have to give things on a long crossing partridge.
Good. Well, a rare occasion when we've handed out useful and sensible advice.
There was a lot of useful. I'm interested to see what comes next.
Well, let's see. Form. Yeah, so this is an unpopular opinion, and it comes from somebody I have decided to call Lineker, who writes...
After your friend Wayne.
Who?
Don't worry. That was the right answer from you. I'm glad you said that. Anyone else listening who knows what I'm talking about, that's good.
Anyway, Lineker has written, Dear Guns on Pegs team, I recently had my first shoot day in the UK. I prepared myself well before by studying all the little points of etiquette that are involved with shooting in Britain. I thought this and listening to your podcast would be enough to not stand out too much. I dressed correctly in my oldest tweeds, brought the side-by-side gun with me, and didn't even forget my tie. The day was off to a good start, and 11s were fantastic. I started to enjoy the new experience enormously. However, on the last drive, I had a gentleman placed next to me who continually poached my birds, which I took as a form of British banter. When the next bird presented itself to my neighbour, I shot it clean out of the air before he could get to it. This might not have caused too much consternation on the part of said gentleman, but for the fact that the bird kept the momentum and landed on him. While a few of the other guns could see the humoristic appeal of this situation, I'm afraid my adversary in the poaching game did not see it quite like that. Was I wrong to poach the bird, and should I have considered the trajectory of the bird more carefully?
I can't believe this is.
Oh, that's classic.
Got to be almost made up. I mean, this is like one of those old wives' tales of a story, which he poached my birds all drive. I shot one and landed on him. just from the pure basis that he could send this letter in, I'm so glad he's done that. So it was absolutely the right thing to have done.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Payback, you know.
I think it's karma.
Karma, what goes around comes around. And how many birds did this other gentleman poach off him?
Well, it says continually.
Well, in which case, I think one in the face is fine, isn't it?
As long as he doesn't end up in hospital or something, I think, yeah.
He should have been watching. If it was right in front of him, he should have been aware that it was coming towards him.
Well, yeah, that too. But also, let's say it's very rare for birds to just come straight at you. There's always a bit of an angle on them in my experience, unless you're like slap bang in the middle of the line. So even if you weren't poaching, there's a non-zero chance of landing a bird close to somebody else.
I mean, the odds of that actually happening are...
I mean, I've told this story on the podcast before. I've hit myself with a partridge before.
I know.
That's quite good shooting, that. Either that or it was just really low.
I thought you were trying to catch it.
Oh, yes, you were there.
I was there, yeah.
Yeah.
I missed the opportunity to shoot a partridge and catch it last year. I just didn't go for it. I don't know why. Looking back as well, I really should have done it.
Do you think that should be a thing?
No, because it's very dangerous because you've still got a gun in your hand. Don't do it, kids.
It's also very disrespectful to the game. I'll retract that statement immediately.
Well, except it doesn't get muddy.
What if your dog could catch it for you?
What, a dog with a sort of massive baseball mitt?
Well, like attached to its collar.
Yeah. On a stick.
Move on. I mean, like, I've got my answer. Do you want it?
Yeah.
This was absolutely fine. Crack on. Well done. Congratulations to you. You've definitely won some garters.
Yeah. I'm
afraid I have to agree.
Poaching's fine as long as you're prepared to live with the consequences. And sometimes, it turns out, the consequences is getting hit with a pheasant.
If you play the game, then you need to, be prepared to take what happens afterwards.
I think usually what happens, though, is the people playing the game don't realise they're playing it.
Yes.
There is that.
And so when they get hit by a bird, they just, A, don't realise they've been poaching all day, and B, just are now really hurt and angry and upset.
I mean, I do have a certain amount of sympathy because it does hurt. They are travelling at some speed.
There's been horrendous stories by birds hitting people.
A big pheasant will knock you clean out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we had our sensible hats on, then we'd have to offer some far more sensible advice on this.
Except he didn't mean to do it.
Yes.
So was it okay that it happened? Well, I mean, of course, you need to say sorry you hit him, but then just laugh.
Yeah, what I'd like to know is, did the other gentleman continue to poach after that event?
Yeah. But what is the sensible advice about poaching? Because obviously the correct advice is poach back. But if somebody's poaching your birds, is it? Right. I say, oh boy.
Do you take the moral high ground and just say, walk up quietly and sort of away from everybody else and just quietly?
No, don't say anything.
Just seethe quietly all day. That's the British way.
I mean, if it happens all day,
I mean, he shouldn't have been poaching. Period. Unless it was kind of a bunch of mates who, where that is kind of sport.
Yeah, I mean, look,
if it was someone he'd never met before.
Well, also, you should know the guns around you. You always you always know who's around you, like what sort of standard they're at, what they're there for. Like if it's your best mate's son his first day, right? You don't just resort to type, do you? And start poaching his birds.
But this poor gentleman was also his first proper game day in this country, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that's what I'm meaning. He should be aware of his neighbours and then just act accordingly. Because this guy's obviously been there and done that.
So let's try an extreme example. Chris, if you were pegged next to the king and he was poaching your birds, what would you do?
I'd hit him with a pheasant.
Off to the tower.
No, I mean, I suppose that you really can't do that, can you?
Would you say, listen, Charlie, old boy?
Do you know what? I don't think it makes a difference who it is in that example. I think if it was the king or anyone, if I thought that I think it ultimately matters about what I think they're like on the peg. If they were doing that and I genuinely thought they didn't have a clue, I would just let it slide. Yeah. It's one of those days, it happens, move on. If I thought they were being an obnoxious prick about it, I'd just shoot the next one in front of them, 100%. And I don't care if it was the king or someone else. But I just don't think the king would do that. It doesn't come across that sort of person.
He's been completely raised correctly. And
so you wouldn't have a diplomatic word between drives?
No.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Above it.
It's not worth the confrontation, because that could just turn into a big confrontation, which would actually ruin the day, more importantly, for everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. It creates a scene, an atmosphere. Like, just move on. Go and have a drink and enjoy it. That's my honest... I've been in this situation a few times where you're like, this is awkward, but whatever. There's another day.
No, I think you're right, Chris. I think you are. I think in everything we do, we should generally take the moral high ground. And then whine about it in the pub afterwards.
Or on a podcast.
Or stand him up with some sort of subtle quip back to them.
Or wait till the white one comes over and, yours!
Yeah, that.
Well, I tell you the other thing that is quite funny is when one is, on the other side of you. So between you and the gun on the other side, turn to them and shout yours.
Does that happen on your home shoot quite a lot, George?
Certainly not.
I think what's really important most of all is you can try and find the sort of loose, funny side of it. And I think on the basis this guy's written this letter in, I think he's sort of seen it as sort of a relatively frustrating but quite funny and shame on you, sad for him type experience.
Yeah. Good. Well, there we go. A unanimous decision. So, Artemis, Lineker, and now you, Pete, are the newest members of the Most Noble Order of the Garters and will soon be in receipt of a pair of the very exclusive Guns on Pegs podcast shooting sock garters and a year's free subscription to Guns on Pegs Premium and access to the Order of the Garters WhatsApp group, which is a lot of fun.
And access to the Order of the Garters shoot days.
Oh, yeah.
And access now. Have you seen the amount of merch coming out of the Order of the Garters?
It's ridiculous.
So there's now, I've got a new lanyard for my dog whistle, which is lovely in the same colour as the garters themselves. What else is there, George?
I've got a snood.
A snood. There's slow gin. There's flags knocking around. There's
talk of bucket hats and bobble hats.
It's one of these things, Pete, that's got out of control.
We have lost control. None of this is official merch, it should be stated.
It's just another dog whistle lanyard that I can lose, like all the other ones that I seem to have. No matter what colour they are, they just seem to go missing.
You won't lose this one. It's very bright.
Well, I've lost 3 orange whistles so far.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a pink whistle.
A pink whistle would go well with this one as well.
Oh, I have a pink whistle. Excellent. I'm very excited.
Yes. Well, anyway, if you want access to all of this stuff, all you have to do is send in your shooting confessions, quandaries, or queries that you'd like us and our guests to help you with, or you can share an unpopular opinion or podcast selections, forgotten drives, all that good stuff. Drop us an email to pod@gunsonpegs.com. The Guns on Pegs podcast is sponsored by Game Ball Black Gold UER.
And it's January, and as we all know, January pheasants take a bit of stopping, especially with you in charge of the gun, George.
Oh, thanks. Get that in. Yeah, that's right. They're stronger, they're wilier, they know the score, they're harder flying, and that's why lots of guns actually look forward to January days for that extra challenge.
So to give you the best chance and make sure you get the most out of these back-end days, you need a cartridge that's obviously up to the job.
And that is where the latest addition to Game Ball's range of market-leading game cartridges comes in, Black Gold Game UER.
Game Ball's R&D team have worked tirelessly to improve upon the hugely popular Black Gold game loads. They've analysed every last detail to identify the qualities that could be improved even more, and therefore incorporating the most technologically advanced components they've ever deployed.
UER stands for Ultra Extended Range, and they're developed for downrange speed and efficacy without excessive pressures and recoil, making them the perfect choice for those tricky late-season birds and high bird days.
So to find out more, visit gameball.com, or to get hold of some UER for yourself, ask your local gun dealer or visit justcartridges.com and have them sent to your door.
Now, at this stage, we'd normally start having a chat about stuff, but we've got one more piece of correspondence that I'd like us to do, and I'm going to take the unusual step of asking our guest to read it out.
Right. Well, thank you for that honour. Dear Sirs, I have been an avid listener of the now much revered Guns on Pegs podcast for a number of years now, and I've thoroughly enjoyed its evolution. One of its key components that I have found highly illuminating is the "What's That You're Drinking" section at the beginning of each pod. Not only does it immediately make the listener feel at home and part of the conversation, especially if you join in, but has also inspired me to experiment with a number of rather intoxicating concoctions from yesteryear that have had a calamitous yet highly amusing consequence. Growing up in a shooting and fishing household, I was exposed to the hip flask young, often accompanied with the comment of "it's a winter warmer" or "just a taste." Although sometimes homemade sloe gin, my father was a keen whiskey drinker and often had whiskey mac in his flask that warmed me to my toes and put hairs on my chest. Listening to the repertoire of fabulous shooting drinks featured on the podcast spins me back some 30 years, standing on pegs with family members, trying to control unruly Labradors, and floods the mind with joyous memories of being in the field with those who are no longer with us. Many of these delicious-sounding concoctions I have never heard of, and it would be a crime for them to be perhaps lost in time. While reminiscing on the way home one night, the little grey cells suddenly came together in what I believe to be a light bulb moment. These tend to be few and far between for me, so allow me to elaborate. It is my understanding that certain members of the Noble Order of the Garter have been keeping a log of all the drinks that have ever appeared on the podcast. I think this labour of love could be put to very good use by compiling some of the best shooting drinks together, along with a brief history, ingredients and entertaining illustrations, that Guns on Pegs could then publish as a book entitled "What's That You're Drinking?" This could in turn be sold, the profits of which could go to BASC or GWCT. Not only would it be a one-stop shop for all the fabulous field drinks that time has forgotten, but such a tome would also keep them alive for future generations, bring them back into fashion, and will simultaneously support the causes we all care for so much. I am sure that every listener of the podcast would buy one. I would be the first in line. Your humble servant.
So the reason I asked Pete to read that out is, Pete?
I wrote it.
I see. I love that idea.
I think it's good, isn't it?
I'm slightly nervous of the amount of work, but I think that a book titled "What's That You're Drinking" is a winner.
Come on.
Of a book.
Well, but also it made me think we also need the Guns on Pegs podcast guide to shooting etiquette.
Ooh, yes.
In the form of all of the "Whose Bird Is It Anyway" and unpopular opinions that we've done over the years.
We just before that lovely letter of yours, Pete, we were saying how ridiculous the Most Noble Order of the Garters had got, and it's now got even more ridiculous.
Listen,
now it has an opportunity to explode. Literally.
Right, and also, like, my slob has now got its page, you know?
Exactly. I just think that it's something that should be done, and I'm sure that it could be put together very quickly.
On-demand publishing, all that. Make it super simple.
George can write it.
Can he write?
And you just need someone who used to do the Thelwell comic books to do the artistry.
Well, the cartoons, that would be the thing, wouldn't it?
Oh, big classic.
Whose Bird Is It Anyway would be the ultimate downstairs loo book.
Be outstanding.
Hold on. We go to Oliver Preston, who pod guest of the past. Ask him to get involved. That's the way to do it.
Having compiled a book, says he in a slightly sort of pathetic manner, putting something like that together is not that complicated these days.
So do we give a page to each drink? And then does that mean that the Tennant Super Strong can have a page?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Tramp juice.
Tramp juice.
Yeah, I think we have to segment it, right? So we have, supermarket lagers. We have...
That can have its own section.
Its own section, yeah.
With like comments from members of the Most Noble Order of the Garters on why they love an Australia.
Yeah, exactly. And, a recipe. First, get your fridge.
And then...
Yeah, and then, a whole section on hedgerow drinks. I think it's good. It's definitely got legs.
I think it's got legs.
Hold on, and that also means that Chocomel and King's Ginger gets a page.
Yes, maybe it's not such a good idea. But yes, I think what we'll do is we will wait and see what the reaction to this idea is like in the WhatsApp group. And if it has enough momentum.
It's got to be a shared effort, doesn't it?
If you got each person who'd done the drink to do a page.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All the guests.
And then just send the page in. You have someone that compiles it all.
Well, I reckon we can do better than that because we've actually got what they said about it on the podcast. So all we've got to do is feed the podcast into a transcription service and we have their original words and then we just tidy it up a bit.
Wow, that's very over-technical and extremely clever.
There's a lot of work going on here. I'm sure AI can help with this a lot to get all that information done. But I'm liking where this is going. And Pete, thank you. Good idea.
Okay, well, I'm glad that I had an idea. I've done a thing, as Jeremy Clarkson says.
Yeah. As George also says, yeah. Do you know what? Where we've got to get clever with this is the linking it up with people that get us things. So we need to sort of link it up to in collaboration with a London club where we then make our home and go and get free drinks.
So hang on quickly. When you say a London club, do you mean whites or fabric?
Or the Clapham Grand?
No, the Clapham Grand's got every drink in our pod behind its bar already. I mean, look at its clientele.
I take it you checked.
Infernos. Yeah.
Oh,
no, I'm meaning yes, a sort of St. James's club.
Right. Well, that's that decision made. Pete, just very quickly, obviously you are best known for fishing, but can you just give us a little bit of your sort of background in shooting, where it all began?
Oh, wow. Okay. My household, as I think I mentioned earlier, was a shooting, fishing household. And we shot in the wintertime and we fished in the summer. So it was just, and pretty much the entire family was involved. So I started, I think, mainly taken out beating from a very early age so that my parents didn't have to look after me, which I think is still a very good technique for free childcare. But from that point, I think if you start in a beating line when you're really young, you learn safety and you listen to the old boys in the beating cart talking about the guns.
Yeah.
And, how they're shooting and what to do or what not to do. So I had a good formative years in Norfolk. I mean, I grew up in Norfolk. And my father had retired by that stage, so he was doing quite a lot of shooting. And I was sort of occasionally allowed to be a back gun, which was quite often extremely productive. Probably more productive than it should have been.
Do you know what? Going back to our getting into shooting thing when you're young, that's the thing you should do as a young person. Be like, look, honestly, guys, don't worry about me being the line. Just let me be a back gun. I'll only shoot wounded birds. if you did that for the first 5 years of your shooting career, you'll be laughing.
That's pretty much what happened to me. And some of the shooting I had, I remember shooting 20 birds on one drive. Yeah. There was some
When the bag for the whole day was 25, you know?
I think there was one moment where I might have had better shooting than my father did, and there was a slightly quiet car ride home. I think
that is a point for every father in their life, isn't it? When your little one beats you, outdoes you, whatever it is, in whatever that thing is, it's going to happen.
Say through gritted teeth how happy and pleased you are.
Deep down, you must have been. In a funny kind of way.
Well, I'm sure this is going to happen to me shortly, so I will find out and tell you. So I did a lot of shooting in Norfolk. I was lucky enough to do quite a lot of wild fowling off the coast as well for geese. A lot of pigeon shooting. In fact, I mean, where we lived, we had a couple of pigeon hides in the back paddock, and if I had nothing better to do in the afternoon, I'd take a gun and a dog and just go and sit in a pigeon hide. Which was a very nice way to grow up. Shoot a couple, come home, breast them out, and eat them.
Winning.
So that was during the winter time, and then obviously the summer was spent fishing. And I think there was a moment in my career where I could have gone either way. I could have very easily gone into the shooting industry and not the fishing industry, but sort of things happened, and I met people and was sort of pushed up a ladder in a different direction. But shooting's always been very close to my heart. It's always been something I definitely shared with my father and my brother. Those days I have extremely fond memories of.
Was there ever a point in your life where you sort of stopped shooting? You know, you did a fair bit of guiding abroad and that kind of stuff. So were you able to get a bit of shooting in as well, or did you have to take a bit of a hiatus at any point?
Normally a few days, but I think if I'm really honest, what actually stopped me shooting for a period of time is I ended up hosting commercial shooting for a bit, for some very big bag days for some Americans. And that slightly turned me off. It's sort of much bigger bags than would be considered a big bag now. And I think I just didn't enjoy that. I really didn't enjoy it, and I stopped for a little bit. But you know, I've always had guns in the cabinet, and I've always done 1 or 2 days with mates. And then as life has progressed and I've had more opportunity, I didn't shoot for a period of time when the children were really small, because I got a couple of very nice invitations and had to make that call the night before saying, I'm sorry, I can't come.
Mm.
And obviously never got invited back. It's about the biggest faux pas you could possibly commit. So I said, right, okay, I'll just not accept anything for 2 or 3 years.
Those first couple of years with your young kids are tough, aren't they? Like that.
Really difficult. And you've just got to resign yourself to the fact that you can't do your hobbies because you are not the focus anymore.
You're using so many brownie points for something. And I think now, being with the youngest 2.5, I look back and think, with a couple of scenarios, why did I use up all that credit for that? But it
is your job.
So I'm talking, instead of 12 days, 10, right? You know, not like no days for a season. But my point being that the couple of days where I'm going to be away for 2 nights, darling. Then I'm going to be on the road. I'm going down for another double day. I'll be back on Friday, and you think it's not worth it.
I have had a similar situation with fishing, and you just sort of think, ugh. And even if it's work, it's slightly, you feel bad about it, which means you don't enjoy it as much.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because you do feel guilty about it. Well, I do. I know there are people that don't feel guilty about it at all.
Lots of people listening to this shouting at their speakers. Right
what
now.
Are you talking about, McLeod, you imbecile?
I mean, I've been working in this world for nothing like as long as the pair of you, but I have yet to convince Misha that shooting is work in any sense. You know, it just never lands, that argument. And I don't think it ever will. So yeah, that's never a good one. Pete, I wanted to ask you about fishing and shooting, because you described yourself as coming from a fishing and shooting family. And I do think that for a lot of people, fishing and shooting, as sort of two sides of the same coin. But then I don't know if you're familiar with Steve Ranella, Meat Eater podcast. He has this thing that he says that all hunters fish, but not all fishers hunt. Is that your experience of it from your side as well?
Yeah, I think. I mean, there are definitely those who are dyed-in-the-wool fishermen, and I don't think they'll ever be persuaded to pick up a gun. But then there are so many of us that do both, and I get that question a lot. Which do you prefer, fishing or shooting? And I don't. I love them both, and there's no reason to exclude one over the other, because they happen at totally different times of the year. Until of course you start throwing some tropical fishing into the equation, which certainly muddies the waters. But it was always one of those things that as a family, that was just how it was. So we just ate game all the way through the winter, and then quite a lot of fish during the summer, which was great.
Because Chris, you're not really a fisherman, are you? But your dad very much is.
Where's that come from? Time. I think time. So what I wanted to ask Pete this though, because I've always I can fish. I enjoy it when I do it, but I think it's a stage of life. It goes back to you're in a stage of life where the time out fishing plus the brownie points to then go shooting and whatever else you want to do. Like I love football, rugby, bloody anything. Like, I mean, it means that you're competing with so many different things. But on that basis, Pete, I wanted to ask you, like, if you're representing every fisherman in the world right now, and you're talking to people like me who shoot, but maybe don't fish enough or haven't fished at all, what are they missing out on? And if there's one thing that you could say that would get us going, right, okay, do you know what? Next year's the year I change. It's the year I do a bit more. What would we do?
I think that boils down to, what is it that you love about shooting? Is it the hunting aspect of it? Is it the camaraderie? It's the camaraderie. You get exactly the same thing with fishing. I mean, yes, there's a certain element of it which is solitary, and like shooting, you're very interested in your skill level and developing your skill, which makes you more productive. But essentially fishing, certainly sight fishing, is just hunting. It's just hunting with a different piece of equipment. It's all visual. You can see what's happening. So if, say you're on a trout river, say we're fishing the Test.
Yeah. As
a local example, you're meeting, you're having your bacon butties, you're going out with your guide, you're outside, you're in nature, you've got all of that going around you, you've got the birds which you can see. It's a different form of conservation as well, so it's still conserving our rural environment, and it continues to be a passion because you are walking up a river, you're seeing fish in the river, you're trying to figure out what they're going to eat, you're trying to represent that, and then you try and put a fly in front of them and watch them come up and eat it.
I'm totally with you, and I've been on a few days on the Test where, to be honest, the lunch and the barbecue and everything else is as much a part of the day as the fishing.
Yeah.
And I can absolutely see that aspect of it. So what else do you think makes shooting and fishing so similar? You're
on a kind of escalating scale of skill. So you start very lowly. So, you'll probably start as a trout fisherman. Most people start trout fishing.
Is that lowly?
Well, it's better than, fishing for gudgeon. Which you can fly fish for, but it's quite a skill, especially the fish are only about 2.5 inches long.
Okay.
But I suppose you could...
When I see my dad next week, should I call him a lowly fisherman because he fishes for trout?
Ask him if he's a gudgeon fisherman. But from that aspect, you're on this... you're on a journey. Like all of these wonderful things that we do, you're on a journey of learning stuff. And with fishing, I suppose... especially with fly fishing, you'll start with trout in this country. You'll learn how to cast, which is a bit like learning how to use a gun. You'll learn, and casting is a bit like how to swing. And then from that aspect, you'll then move along the lines of clays, which is like stillwater trout fishing. So you can go and catch a load of fish. and get used to everything. And then as you progress, then you'll move up the scale. So, you'll move to your syndicate shoot, or you will move to fishing on rivers. And then that can keep going up until you sort of hit, I suppose, my real passion, which is giant trevally fishing in the saltwater, which is probably the equivalent to trying to shoot very high pheasants in Wales.
Yeah.
It's a similar kind of, and obviously there's lots of toys that go with it. I should mention that, because all of us believe that he who dies with the most toys wins, obviously.
This is definitely
and
true.
There's lots of, it's without a shadow of doubt. I only have to look at my current gun cabinet to realize that is definitely true, because there's nearly as many as there are rods now. So it's an ever escalating fever stroke disease, I suppose. So I think in that aspect, they're quite similar. And you're still out, you're still hunting, you're still in the environments of these different species.
Yeah.
And experiencing, one of the reasons I think we all love being out in the country is because of those experiences.
Yes, it's a feedback loop, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think there's an interesting difference on the. I think fly fishers seem a bit more prepared to travel for their kicks. We've already touched. Some people do go off to Argentina or whatever, but I think people in the fishing world are more willing to get on a plane.
I think that's because there's less of it left in this. Sorry to interrupt you, George, but I think there's less of it left in this country for us.
Yeah.
You only have to look at Scotland for that. We love fishing in Scotland. Salmon fishing in Scotland is a wonderful thing because of all of the history and tradition. But sometimes it's quite difficult now. Whereas you can go abroad and then you will find rivers which are still full of fish. So I think, yes, you are right. I think fishermen probably at this point are more willing to travel for their sport.
But the other thing about fishing and traveling is you're traveling for something entirely different. Does this make sense? I'm thinking this through as I say it. But when you're going abroad and you're going for giant trevally or something like that, that's very different than shooting like a feathered game bird in the UK versus a feathered game bird abroad. And so is there not like something just so different about that makes the experience for traveling so much more different than going to shoot partridges in Spain, let's say?
It's definitely more diverse. And you have to learn different skill sets for different species. Different tackle, different skill sets for different species. And
so it's a totally different conversation. Whereas when if you come off a drive of partridge shooting in Spain, you're having the same conversation you'd have pretty much in the UK.
Yeah, I missed the ball. I just missed more of them.
It just feels to me like fishing lends itself more to destinations than shooting does. I'm not saying the same for hunting in the form of like rifles and that type of thing. Obviously, you go all around the world for different stuff. I'm talking about shotguns. I think, whether it's a dove in Argentina or a pigeon in England, I know that there's a lot of stuff around it that's different, but the principle of it's basically the same.
But I think that's the bit you've just hit on, is you are immersing yourself in different cultures. So whether you are traveling to shoot or fish, you're immersing yourself in different cultures, different foods, and also most of these places are in some of the most beautiful places on the planet.
So why do people travel more to fish than shoot then?
Maybe they're mildly more compulsive, more obsessed.
Fishing people are a bit more possible. Obsessed, I think. I think that's...
no, I know what it is.
They're definitely nerdier.
But I reckon it's actually more simple than that. I reckon it's just that it is just better than we've got here. Yeah. Whereas we've got so much quality shooting here, shotgun-related shooting, that, to be honest, you could go anywhere in the world and like you could still say, it's similar to that, or it's just as good as that, or maybe it's mildly better. But like we're not like, fishing on the flats in the Bahamas versus, your local syndicate type thing. I mean, they're just very different things.
I think there's something in that.
I think a prime example of that is our American brethren, who fish all over the world. and they come here to shoot.
Yes. That's probably what it is. It's so good for shooting that we just don't
We're
have
lucky.
the same attraction to travel to fish, which is a shame in a way, because it would be so much more fun if we more regularly traveled. It would be more fun if we did travel a little bit more to shoot.
I mean, I think so. I've been lucky enough to shoot in some other countries, and I have really enjoyed the experience because it is very different. Sort of the bird presentation is different. Certainly, if you're going to hunt doves in Argentina, there are a lot of them, far more than pigeons here.
What's also fascinating, thinking about myself as someone who doesn't fish that much, but can certainly cast a fly. If I go to the Caribbean on a holiday, I'm like talking to the guys in the marina about marlin fishing, like just because there's something about that excites the hell out of me, and that just wouldn't happen if it was shooting. I'm still excited by shooting, obviously, but it just wouldn't quite be the same. I wouldn't be gleaning as much because it's not as different. If it was shotgun related, it's so different going marlin fishing behind a boat with a different thing, going for tuna or whatever. It's still classed as fishing, but it's just a totally different world away to someone else wielding a shotgun, versus shooting in the UK. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you are. And I think maybe I'll point this one at you, George. So you go to Scotland to go salmon fishing.
Yeah.
How many weeks do you spend preparing for that trip?
Oh, 51.
It's all about, okay, I've got thousands of flies, but there might be some other flies that might make the difference.
Exactly. Do you know, the other thing I was thinking is if we, let's say in an alternate universe, this was a fishing podcast and we had a segment called Desert Island Fishing, the variety of different things that we would get would be on an order of magnitude compared to what we currently get for desert island shooting, where everybody's is sort of, well, not everybody's, but we get a lot of the same answers when we ask people for their dream last day. And I think if you flip that into a fishing experience, you'd probably not get too alone.
Yeah, you would. You'd get like morning taimen fishing in Mongolia, salmon fishing in Alaska, lunchtime I'm going to catch a few bonefish in the Bahamas. And then you sort of, I don't know, bounce down to the Seychelles to hunt a GT, or, flip over to Bosnia or Slovenia for some serious trout fishing in the evening or something. I mean, so yeah, you can flip around the world much faster.
But if you're doing it with a shotgun, there's just so few things that you're actually on the species list versus fish. The number of species on the species list for a shotgun has to be so much smaller than the species list available to catch.
When I go down to the Seychelles, there's something like 125 different species to catch on fly.
Really?
Yeah, and and a lot of them I still haven't caught.
That's enough to talk about forever.
Well, that's why fishermen are boring.
Right, we've solved that one. Great.
Right, I reckon that's enough fishing chat for our shooting podcast.
Yeah, no, moving onwards. Let's go back to shooting.
And because
but
you are
this is the thing, though. But we're talking to someone that's obsessed with fishing and does all these different things. Yet you're also obsessed with shooting. You're in your local syndicate. And am I right in saying that you've sort of got a bit of a part-time hobby as a sort of gun repairer / doer-upper / mender?
Yes, it's absorbing quite a lot of time at the moment. Sadly, I lost my father about 2 years ago, and it brought back a whole bunch of sort of memories of growing up in Norfolk shooting. And it began with I've got a beautiful old Charles Hellis, a 1930s Charles Hellis, which is my grandfather's gun. And I took it down to Alex, actually, in Winchester, who you've had on the podcast. Because although it's a lovely gun, I mean, the stock was beaten to hell. Half the varnish was peeling off. And I said, what would it kind of put me back to redo this stock and put an oil finish on it? And he looked at me and he said, look, the gun is worth 200 quid. It's not really worth it. You should just have a crack at it yourself. I don't know whether that was because he didn't like the look of me or, but it sent me down a total rabbit hole. And I thought I'd love to bring that gun back to what it was. So I did a load of research. I bought a load of books, did a lot of YouTube viewing, and figured out that actually taking a box lock apart is not that complicated. And if it's a gun which doesn't owe you anything, then you don't really mind having a tinker with it. So I took it all apart. I stripped down the action. I refinished bits which were looking a little unhealthy, and then I refinished the stock. And now it's quite pretty, and I love shooting with it because I use it for walked up shooting because it weighs 6 pound 1 ounce. It's a 12 bore.
Oh, nice!
Wow.
And it's a non-ejector, and it's absolutely perfect for walked up shooting.
What did you put on the stock? Like some sort of 5-year wood stain, or did you?
No, I didn't just throw some Ronseal on it. I actually
a gunsmith.
it's an oil finish, so linseed oil finish. But firstly, you have to prepare the stock. You have to take it off to begin with. So you have to be reasonably mechanically minded, I suppose, to even vet. Because I remember growing up as a kid, my father wouldn't even let me attempt to take the side locks off an AYA. Because even though they were hand detachable, it was like something's going to go wrong. Only gunsmiths do it. So I grew up with that feeling that anything that is done to a gun should be done by a gunsmith, and that is going to be the case 80% of the time. So from a safety aspect and from your competence level, I mean, you certainly don't want to be playing around with a gun which is really beautiful.
That's my major concern. The moment you touch one of those screws, you end up nicking the edge of it. So
screws are the first thing I learned about.
You've got to have a serious set.
So bought some turn screws, made sure that they were all file flat, and made sure that you apply the right amount of pressure on top of the screw before you unscrew it, because they are screwed in really tight. And normally the screw is done in such a way that it literally runs vertically up and down the gun. But after you figure that out, and after you've cocked up one, which we won't talk about.
One gun.
No, luckily one screw. And you understand that's probably the first thing that you've got to get through your head is as soon as you can't just take an ordinary screwdriver to a shotgun because you will wreck it in 10 seconds flat. But once you figure that out, taking them apart is reasonably easy, and you need some punches to take out the pins. And you need to be aware that obviously the hammers are under tension, and you have to make sure that they don't ping off across. I do all my stuff is done in the dog room, so you have to make sure that I'm not going to lose bits all over the place. But it started with that, and then from that I went down a further rabbit hole because I've got my great grandfather's single-barreled hammer gun, 20 bore, which is an Edward Pape and Son from about 1890, which sat in my father's cupboard through most of my childhood. I took it out, shot a few pigeons with it, and it nearly blew my shoulder off because it had a 12.5-inch stock. So I put a 4.5-inch stock extension on it. So I got some walnut and I whittled it all down, and again went through the same process as sandpapering, and you need to put water on it to get all the hairs to come up, to then sand those down to get the finish before you start applying sealant and then various levels of finishes, and then you continue to finish it. And now I've got a gun that I can use, and I took it out to our shoot on our last day, and I shot 2 pheasants with it. And that was absolutely amazing because that gun probably hadn't shot anything in maybe 35 years. And before that, another 40 years before that. But it's still perfectly functional. And it's really good fun to use.
That's such a fantastic thing.
And it's been, as I say, it's a rabbit hole. My book collection has expanded dramatically. I've started reading a lot of the old shooting texts, like sort of Borrard and Boothroyd and Gough Thomas, and there's one book. If you're going to get into this, the one book you should get is called The Art of Gunsmithing: The Shotgun by Lewis Potter, which is not, you can get it on Amazon. It's not an expensive book, and things like stock refinishing, putting extensions on stocks, because a lot of us will buy an old 12 bore and it's got a 14.5-inch stock. I mean, my length of pull is more like 15. So, you need to be able to take a saw, cut off the end, put on the extension butt, and then sand it all down, make it all fit properly. And it's just it keeps me busy.
Great fun.
It's great fun, but just make sure, as I said, you do it on old guns that don't owe you anything. Because
except for like when your nice gun breaks, like a firing pin, would you tackle that just on your main gun?
No, I wouldn't do that because you have to temper them, and I don't have a lathe. I mean, if I had a lathe and I had the stuff, then I'd probably have a crack at it. But I've got a vise and some basic tools.
Right.
But what it does make you do is understand much more about how a shotgun works. So whether it's a box lock or a side lock or an old hammer gun, whether it's a back action side lock or whether it's a bar action side lock, or you get really nerdy about it. But luckily I've got some friends who are gunsmiths who've kept me on the straight and narrow and inspected my work before I go out and shoot them.
So what's your next project?
The next one is I am going to attempt a London finish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because, the oil finishes are great and they make them weatherproof and all the rest of it. But I've got one gun that I would really like to put a proper London finish on.
And the components of a London finish?
So much more in depth. It's sort of what's also called a slacken finish.
Yeah.
And that's where you are using dryers as well as oils to build up over time an incredibly thin layer. It's very labor intensive. So yeah, this was another thing that immediately became apparent is, when you go to a gunsmith and you say, can you just refinish my oil stock? It's probably 60 hours of work to do that.
Crikey.
And that is why it's so expensive.
So London finish on an already made stock.
So they would have to, if you say, for example, you've got a lovely old Atkin, haven't you?
Yeah.
So that has got a lovely finish on it. And if you'd put a massive crack in it or in the finish, or it had worn off through water or whatever, you can't just put a little bit on the bit that's there.
No, you can't. Yeah.
You've got to strip the whole thing down and start again. And if you do that, you have to do the fore end as well. So it's an enormous amount of work. And quite often you might have to maybe do a touch up on the checkering as well. One thing I'm never going to do again is checker.
Yeah, I've seen the tools and the way that they do that. I mean, that doesn't look like fun.
God, that's not fun. I did the back end of the old 20 bore and I recheckered the butt, and it took me 2 days.
Oh my God, I bet your arm was knackered.
Oh, my fingers were full. I was just like, I'm going to finish this. I'm going to start it. I'm going to finish it. But, it's not that pretty, but it's okay.
Have you ever thought about doing your own stock from a blank?
No. just no.
So you're not regretting having a lost career as a stocker at Purdy or something?
Oh God, I would have loved to have done it though.
I've looked at the guys when you turn up to like Iwa, the shooting show in Nuremberg, and you see the Turkish guy sitting there on a pop out canvas chair with a pallet of walnut. And it's like, and they've got this sort of exhibition grade walnut, and you think, I could definitely get myself a bargain here. But then, obviously, making that right for your gun is just going to be something else.
Yeah, but
It'd
don't
be
forget
fascinating to see.
Exhibition grade is probably what, $2,500-3,000 for the piece of wood.
Probably not from them.
Probably not from them. But then, what happens if you screw it up?
Well, that's a lot of money.
You might as well just take it outside and set fire to it. It's completely wasted. So
this is such a nerdy conversation, right?
I'm a fisherman. I'm a nerd. So I think what I've learned from it is there's a lot you can do if you are confident in your abilities, and also you beware that if you screw it up, and then you've got to take it cap in hand to someone who knows better.
Yeah, and they're going to laugh at you,
and they will laugh at you, home, and they will point.
And you will wish you'd never touched it.
Worse, they'll probably just look disappointed.
You'll get a lot of sucking of teeth and tutting, and the best thing to do is walk in and say, I've just bought this, and someone else has done this.
And then he'll say, what prick did this?
And you go, absolutely. I mean, what a complete idiot. But it is good fun. And you learn a lot about the internals of shotguns. And then that sends you down a total rabbit hole of all the different actions that were coming out in the sort of late 1800s and early 1900s. It's fascinating.
It's very cool. And I'm excited for you that you've done this, because I wish I could. And when I do get the time, I'm going to buy myself one of those big, heavy workbenches that can just like sit in the workshop.
I would also recommend you buy something to practice on. So I bought a few cheap stocks off eBay for about £6.
That's a good idea.
I've got my non-ejector 20 bore that I haven't seen.
That is a perfect gun for you to go play with.
Because the stock on that is almost looking plastic. It's that bad.
Yeah, well, you have to strip it all off with paint stripper, and then start from scratch.
But the thing is, when you even put the effort in, it's still going to look crap.
You'd be surprised.
It came back with a bit of exhibition grade walnut on a non-ejector shit 20 bore.
But if you think about a lot of the stocks that were put on in those days, and we look at them now 100 years later, and they're really dark. And they're really dark, and there's not much grain in it, and you can't really see what's happening underneath. But that's because oil over 100 years goes dark. And as soon as you strip it all off back to the white and then start again, quite often you'll be surprised about how beautiful it is underneath.
Right. There's a bit of inspiration for some listeners, because I can totally see how that can happen.
Of all the geeky gun people and shooting people we've had on the podcast, and of all the geeky conversations we've had on this show over the years, that was by some distance the geekiest.
What, from the fisherman?
Yeah.
Yeah, from the fisherman who's not a gun expert. Right.
Yeah.
Pete,
good fun.
Desert Island shooting. Right. So I don't know if you've prepared for this, but I'm about to twist it. The situation is this. The extinction level event asteroid hits tomorrow. Your affairs are in order. Loved ones and enemies reconciled. Old stocks made good. Dogs fed. Tomatoes watered. Your last trip involving both fishing and shooting begins how?
And I have all of the usual accoutrements at my disposal.
Yeah.
So I have the time machine and the helicopter and the... Have you got a transporter? Like a sort of Star Trek style transport?
Yeah.
Good. We need one of those, because otherwise time will be of the essence. I will start on the Norfolk coastline.
Yeah.
At Brancaster in the sand dunes at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning under a full moon.
You don't want the transporter in there, no?
No, I think I can get there. I can just about remember. And waiting for the Pinkfoot geese to come off Scolt Head.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Which was something I did a lot as a teenager and absolutely adored. Most of them are way out of range. And I was always taught that essentially any bird which, the wingspan is your 2 barrels, that's fair game. But anything smaller than that, forget.
That's a nice guide, that. I like that.
Yeah.
I was taught. I used to go shooting there with the coxswain of the old RNLI lifeboat there. He knew everything about the coastline there. So that's where I'd start, because that's truly special. It's magical. You just hear them coming off. You can't really see much. But because you've got a full moon, particularly if you've got full moon with clouds, then they are silhouetted. And it's really special.
That's phenomenal.
So that's where I would begin.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to take probably, if we throw in some fishing at this point, I'm probably going to head to Iceland.
Okay, not far.
Not too far.
In the grand scheme of things.
Not too far. And for a salmon fishing fix. Because I think that still Iceland is the last bastion of Atlantic salmon, and it's a very different style of fishing to what you would do in most other areas of the world, because you're sight fishing for Atlantic salmon with single-handed rods and tiny hitch tube flies.
Nice.
And they come up and take it like a dry fly. So that.
And do you know what's great about Norfolk to Iceland is that if you take the super fast jet, you'll be there basically at the same time.
Yes.
Because you're going back in time. And so if you finish your morning flight at like 7 a.m., you'll be fishing in Iceland at 7 a.m. That's perfect.
Well, that would be ideal. Do the morning session in Iceland, catch a few salmon, watch everything that's happening, and it is beautiful to fish over there. It's very special. From there, I am probably going to... We've hit lunch, haven't we, I suppose?
if you want to fish all morning.
No, I don't want to fish all morning. I want to go back to Norfolk. And I want to go and shoot pigeons over peas.
Oh, okay. Nice, yes.
No decoys, just up against the edges of the woods over the peas.
Nice.
Which some part of my formative youth absolutely loved.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could find anyone that wouldn't enjoy that.
It's just my kind of shooting that. And then, so this is, I'm going to stick with shooting. I would like a time machine, please.
Yeah.
And I would like to go back to the Edwardian period and shoot grey partridge in Hampshire. And George, I might invite you.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you. I'll accept that invitation.
Chris, you can come. You can come as well if you like.
I'll come and beat for you. Don't worry.
You can bring your new drink.
Oh yeah. Oh, you mean the Edwardians would like that? Do you think?
You imagine the Edwardians after a bunch of slob.
Hey guys, some slob.
Some slob for you.
They'd be like, "Shit, what happened in the 21st century?"
This is what we drink in the future. And the only caveat with that, George, is we have to shoot with 20-bore hammer guns.
Deal.
Ooh, problem.
With rebounding locks. Because I don't think we want to make it too difficult.
Is there an estate you've got in mind for that?
No, there isn't. Because
just a lot of Hampshire wild partridge back then, so it doesn't matter.
Why don't we just shoot all of Hampshire?
Yeah. Blanket all in.
Blanket all in, and then drive it over one hedge line and try and experience.
I'll need some more beaters then, right?
The whole of Hampshire will join in.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll get them all in from Basingstoke and Andover. And
I'm sure they'll love that.
Perfect.
But I think that's something, having read a lot of the old texts that I'm reading at the moment, that is something I really would have liked to have experienced.
Yeah.
Because it's just not something which is available to us mere mortals anymore.
Yeah, it depends who you know, doesn't it? I mean, I agree.
I do. Whoever they are, I don't know them.
Yeah, but I mean, also though, even if you do know them, it's not quite like it was back then.
Yeah. So that is one of those historic things that I would really love to have, and maybe in the line, we might have some of the true characters of the time who could maybe Lord Walsingham might like to come and join us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you taking him fishing after this?
Yeah, let's see what he's got. If he can,
he's probably got some beats on something somewhere.
Probably. Well, also we would maintain that Norfolk connection as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting that you don't want to shoot greys in Norfolk, which is another traditional grey partridge stronghold.
I think because I now live in Hampshire, and this is where my home is. This is where I would like to do it. With the friends around me that I now have.
Pete, we're only at lunchtime. This is already a pretty decent day.
Then obviously we're going to need quite a lot of red wine and maybe a small nap.
Okay. That's such a waste of a day, but anyway.
It'll be a very small nap because then we can use the time machine. And then we're going to the Seychelles.
Nice.
So the afternoon hunting GTs across the flats.
Okay.
Dodging the odd shark.
Yeah.
Having our arms pulled off and doing that. And so that would be another fishing thing that is just, if you haven't experienced it, it is truly unique and truly special. From there, we're going up to Scotland and walked up pheasant shooting on the side of the hills. Because I think walked up shooting for me is probably the thing that I enjoy the most now. It's just so dynamic and you don't know what's going to happen and you're with your dogs and you're wandering along the line and something gets up and it's a massive adrenaline rush and you're working for your birds, which I like. I'm
with you. I'm just amazed at the scope of this day. I mean, you've done well here. But you are Aardvark McLeod, so you can just lay this on. I mean, you're going to have quite a lot of takers when you put this on your website.
Until they see the bill.
Time machines are carbon neutral.
Good.
This is true,
That's-
actually.
It's very important. And then I'm going to finish the day duck flighting.
In Norfolk?
I think it's Scotland, actually. Just being in the valleys and, hearing the duck coming all the way down the valleys.
So you can go from the last walked up drive, the sort of walked up
Along the side of the hill and then straight down to
straight
one of the ponds.
into the
one
valley.
of the one of the small
Yeah.
lochs.
Yeah, nice.
Beautiful.
Finish
and then-
it in style.
And then as the sun goes down, I think that would be quite a good way to finish.
Sun's always down in Scotland.
Or it's raining. One of the two.
Okay. And are you? So you finished with the duck flight. You've got the torch out. You've picked up your bag. What next?
A very, very large dinner with probably quite a lot of alcohol because therefore the hangover won't matter in the morning.
Never thought about that actually on desert island shooting. That's a very good point.
Yeah. So, that you can have all the fun and none of the pain.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So that is how my last day would be. And if I lived that, then I think that I'd be a very happy man.
I think you'd be dead. That's an absolute
Sadly,
winner.
yes. It's a certainty.
Well engineered. Well thought of.
Yeah, fantastic.
Well, it was a little bit off the cuff. You slightly sideways me, but that's fine.
Well, I mean, it wasn't hard. You did a good job of it.
Oh, well, Pete, it's been so much fun.
Yeah, thanks, Pete.
Thank you very much indeed for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk about my other passion.
Been great fun. I mean, what other passion? You got a bunch of other passions as well. So very
Mostly
good.
revolves around fishing rods and guns.
Really good to have you with us, Pete.
Well, thank you very much indeed for having me, guys. It's been a lot of fun.
Right, so before we go, all that remains for me to say is that there is a final reminder that you can get your hands on a pair of the very exclusive Guns on Pegs podcast shooting sock garters by sending us your shooting dilemmas for us to resolve, by sharing your unpopular opinions or your forgotten drives or your podcast suggestions. Do write in with suggested names for Chris's concoction. All emails to pod@gunsonpegs.com. And if we use any of them in the next episode or any future episodes, we will send you some garters. I'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with Jake, Avian, and Sam. But until then, thanks very much for listening and goodbye.
Wow.